Hey-o! It's time to do the dishwasher. Let's do it. The water comes in the backside of this unit and it runs through a valve right in this area here. So we're going to take this cover plate off and make sure that we have the screen open in that valve, at least. Now, when we ran the dishwasher before with air in the system, it would have opened up this solenoid valve here and then allowed water to push through until we got air. That's what we did. But I like to be safe, and water could still be stuck in there and fall way back and then get stuck in here. So I just we're going to open up this union here, kind of turn this sideways so that the screen piece is not low and water doesn't get trapped in that. And then there's a low spot underneath this. This is where the water comes in. And we're just going to disconnect this union down here, and that should keep us safe. But like I said, if we blew enough air through this thing, then we'd be fine right now anyways. But you know me. Well, maybe you don't know me. See? Look at that. All that water has got potential to break stuff. So there. We disconnected underneath here, excuse me. And we disconnected there. Ta-da! Of course, I tried to disconnect the union, but instead it unthreaded itself. That's fine. All right, I took the faceplate off of this, the other faceplate that was here. It's just 2 screws underneath here. Just wanted to show you one thing. It's not too crazy, but this is the drain pump. Well, the wash pump. It pumps the water, the soapy water around it, and jets it back up this way. And up that tube there, comes out here and there into the spray pieces, but I already took those out. So some people suggest that you take out the pump altogether, just in case you get water trapped inside this. You don't want that. Obviously, it could freeze and crack things. So instead, what I like to do is a little bit eeasier. Is we're going to take some antifreeze and we're going to just inject it into that pipe, into that one or that one. Doesn't matter. They're both tied together. They end up in the same spot. So I'm going to just push some antifreeze through that instead. Yeah. Now that would have pushed antifreeze in, and it would have drizzled down, and we're going to end up with some in here, and that's going to hopefully mix in with any of the water that's left in there. Now you could go ahead and take that entire thing apart if you feel like it. There's a bunch of bolts underneath here. The whole pump comes out. You got to unplug the pump. Make sure you plug it back in the same way in the spring. But I honestly don't think you need to do that. It's worked so far for me the past couple of years. Well, 1 year. All right, that's back together. Now we're going to drain the chemical stuff. All right, so we're doing the same thing. We're thinking like a water drop. Where is the water going to get trapped? Right now, the low spot, we have a low spot here that goes over to the rinse aid. We have a low spot here that goes to the wash, the soap. We got a low spot here that comes from the controls. We have a solenoid valve here with a filter that we need to get out. And there's also a solenoid valve with a filter inside that rinse aid container. We're going to do all that, and then this water comes straight up from below. From that point there, we're going to open up that and make sure that the water comes out here. So let's start at the bottom. Open this sucker up. It's hard to do with one hand, but we're getting it. All right, I like to disconnect it and then push it down like that. Again, if you don't remember how this stuff goes back in the spring, it's a really good idea to snap a couple of pictures of what you had so you can kind of get the gist of it. But sorry, I always get notifications while I'm doing a video. I'm gonna get a little creative with this piece here, just because it's difficult to get that out of that spot. It's kind of inside the plastic housing, but I'll show you. There, pop that off. Oh. Come out. There. Now, you can can see we got a little straw here, and we know there's going to be a little bit of water trapped in here, so we're just going to blow on it. Woo! This little screen can be hard to get out with the solenoid in place, so I just unplugged it. There's just 2 wires. Make sure you put them right back the same way. I don't think it matters, but I always like to put it the same way. And then we'll get this off. Alright, let's plug this back in. Make sure you don't lose the screen. Alright, now we're going to take the housing off of this. It's pretty easy. You just grab it and you lift. Look at that. I did it with one hand. Pretty easy. And then there's the solenoid valve right there. So we're going to work on getting the spring out. The screen. And making sure nothing's trapped inside that. Yeah, that one was easy. I'm going to do my little straw trick again. This is that low point that I disconnected from there. And that you can see that feeds up and into this rinse aid. And so that goes directly into that solenoid valve. So this should, that's basically just clearing out through the screen. But we want to make sure is that we also get it through that vacuum breaker. That's that. At least I think it's a vacuum. You see we got a little bit of water trapped in there. That goes into the sprayer part that sprays up into the chemical. I don't know if you know how these work, but water comes in, that solenoid valve opens, lets water through, down this, into a little chamber right here, and then it sprays up inside this housing, which then washes some of that rinse aid down into the tray, and then the tray has a pump in it that pumps it through when it's called for through this little skinny clear line. When the washing machine wants them, that's what it does. Now you know. Who cares? All right, next we're gonna dump this tray of rinse aid mixture. It's just 2 little hand screws, one on this side, one right there. All right, it's definitely a 2-hand job, otherwise you will be blue. Look like a Smurf after you get done with this. All right, finish putting this sucker back together. Ta-da! Well, almost. It's got to go a little further. All right, that is done. Do one last thing. We're just going to put a little bit more antifreeze into that drain below the dishwasher by sending it through the drain of the dishwasher. And actually, now that I'm thinking of it, there's one more thing we got to do. That line right there, that goes into another solenoid valve that goes into the drain line. Why do we have water going into a drain line for a dishwasher? That's what I said when I first learned about this. The dishwasher temperature is about 180 degrees when it's doing its rinse cycle, and that goes down into PVC, and PVC is rated to about 180 degrees. So what you can do is you can cause the PVC drains to become defective. So what the dishwashers do is they have a cold water inlet that sprays in when you're draining so that the water temperature is not quite as hot. Kind of cool. I mean, it's a pain in the butt to get to, but it's kind of cool. Luckily on this one, we've got a nice drain screen. So if we pop this out, it should let the water out. Ta-da! Don't lose your cap. Now, if you wanted to be really safe, you'd have to disconnect the other end of that solenoid valve. That's the solenoid valve, to remove any water that might get trapped in that part of that cycle. But I've never had any issues by leaving it, so I'm going to leave it again. That side's just open to the drain, so I think it has enough atmosphere to expand when that water freezes or evaporate. That concludes our tour of this Hobart dishwasher. See ya.